That's perfect that my talk comes after Uliana Fest's talk, because I will speak about trust, and I will also speak about data as they have been shown as obtained and not only as raw data. But I will add something, another layer to that, that is data as given, in the sense that to give something to somebody. This notion of given, to give something to somebody. So and I will do that with a case study on a database called Phone France. In the biodiversity field science, the experimenter's regress described by Harry Collins in 1985 is hardly applicable, since sightings are usually non-replicable. A sighting is usually a single event occurring in a specific location at a specific time, reported by scientists or amateurs. I won't tackle the question of certain tickers or amateurs that visit reported sites of sighting to see an uncommon bird or take specimens of an extraordinary botanical station. Suffice to know that this kind of harvest is not done for proof evaluation of what has been posted on the net or elsewhere, but it is an appropriation of an elusive nature with photos, specimens in herbarium, in a computer, or in notebooks. But they are trophies for a lot of amateurs, but they give an idea of the proper nature of data in field science. Data can be envisioned as a commodity of naturalist world that are embedded in the condition of circulation of sightings. They come in part from entrenchment, described by Harry Collins in 1985, to critique replicability. They are made effective thanks to rule of trust, mutual trust, shared widely on what has to be reported, because there is a commonly no second inquiry on the same data, as they are not obtained as part of an experiment, but extracted in the wild. So I will speak about citizen science, that is science accomplished by the help of amateurs and laypersons, and I will speak about citizen science in biodiversity that includes a nature outing. Accuracy of outdoor sightings, the data relies on peculiarities of communication and control between members of the extended community of amateurs, and the recent introduction of open access database and smartphone applications have altered these tacit rules of communication. The rise of Internet in naturalist milieu changed the status of data. They were previously handed by amateurs to an employee or manager of the naturalist club as a mission directed toward the inclusion into the manager's database. What's more, the data was not detached from the reputation of the handler, and sometimes the amateur had to be dubbed by a renowned naturalist to be able to submit data. In general, the cross-checking of the accuracy of data was not necessary, since the owner of the database knew personally the observers. With the generalization of reporting on digital database and the storage on the cloud, this embeddedness of the creation of data vanished and led to question the way trust in numbers and trust from manager into data producers occurred. In a world of evolving normalization of biodiversity data on a French level, with the SINP, SINP, the Information System of Nature and Landscape, the numerous amateur databases were challenged, and the following issue was raised: to what extent the confidence attributed to online data calls for shared responsibility over the degree of openness allowed in communication process. This question is complexified by the fact that in the case of Fonds France, we deal with relationship between lay people and experts. The language game of replicability seems to have to be replaced by the one on cautionary handling of data diffusion and different strategies at reach by data managers and lay users. And when I speak about data manager, I think about the data editors that were mentioned before. So now I turn to my case study. Fonds France is a network of naturalist associations first gathered in a meeting in November 2013 by the Ligue pour la protection des oiseaux, a century-old not-for-profit organization. Its aim was to work on an observatory of fauna in France. The database, hereafter called Fonds France, was a byproduct of this observatory. It was instrumental in the slow upcoming since the end of the 90s of an interoperability of most local databases existing among naturalist associations specialized in fauna in France. It rose in a context of a plurality of data reporting and gathering and software solutions in France that Fonds France, instead of replacing, orchestrated. The solution of a unique database came from a local Swiss startup firm called Biolovision that devised an internet device called Visionature, dedicated to submitting data and managing raw data circulation and banking among naturalists. It was adopted in the Alps region in 2003 and spread shortly after in different regional organizations before it was considered to become a standard nationally. It drew on the development of Internet to dematerialize the storage capacities of data on the cloud. It benefited to the parallel extension of LPO, merging with smaller associations that became what they call franchised and kept their autonomy. Fonds France adopted a soft management process. In 2015, a charter was set up to register the association that wanted to get involved in Fonds France and use Visionature. The registration and compliance with the charter is mandatory to get involved in Fonds France and take part in the management of the database. This peculiar soft power organization allows local specificities to persist, like the British Trust of Ornithology or the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Data disclosure remains partly entrenched in local specificities and is not uniform all over French territory. In that respect, standardization revealed by the discourse on data replicability play differently in Fonds France. Data disclosure to the SCNP, to the local administration like the DREAL, the persistence of two distinct databases in certain associations, the reluctance of certain organizations to disclose raw data, the adhesion of others to the principle of the Aarhus Convention are among the local adjustments due to local histories and figures of the amateur movement that are a clear pitfall for standardization. This leads to question the universality tone of the argument of replicability. I want to underline the organizational compromise that have been shaped by the negotiation of the database infrastructure among the involved association in Fonds France steering committee. Let me just say that there are different layers of rights of access to manage the database provided by the digital architecture of Fonds France. I can go back if you want in the discussion about that. I want to focus on the contributors to the database. The very approach of data access and open access from manager of amateurs association, conscious of entrenched nature of reporting, precludes any standardization of data and replicability possibility, and meets the worry of contributors about the proper diffusion of data. We have conducted an internet survey of a panel of 1,469 participants in Fonds France. The results given hereafter are statistically representative of the 25,000 active contributors of Fonds France in 2018. Contributors at both sides of data enclosure and data disclosure are attached to the gift-like nature of what they report and how it can circulate. Within the digital turn, data have become a currency not only in their worlds, but also in society at large. This triggers an awareness of the sensitivity of data and behavior of concealment of information not compatible with the idea of replicability for a universal validity of data. In France, another example of monitoring, this leads to weigh the right informative content of collected data. So in our survey, we had a question concerning the reporting on Phone France of data deemed sensitive. So the question was, do you report data that you think are sensitive on the Phone France network? And the answer was for 59% yes. It is obvious for more than half of the contributors that they report sensitive data in the database. That means that they are aware of this issue. Another question asked them if they knew that they can hide the data when they report them on Phone France.